Hi, this is Mike Carruthers, producer of the Storytelling Project. Roy Sluyter is a dear friend of mine. He's best known in the Eagle Ridge community as a music director, a terrific piano player and jazz musician. I have often enjoyed Roy's stories. Today, Roy tells us how his family came to Canada from Holland at the end of the Second World War, and as a result, how the family name was changed from Sluyter, S-L-U-I-J, to Sluyter, S-L-Y. He then tells the story of his brush with fame. I recorded this on the banks of the Coquitlam River on September 11th, 2020, close to Roy's home in Coquitlam, British Columbia.
Roy, so you were going to tell me a story today, and what's the story going to be about?
Well, a relationship with a younger sibling can be tricky, especially if you're cast in the role of oldest child. So this isn't the story, but it explains the punchline of the story.
Oh, okay.
So my mom and dad were in occupied Holland. My dad would have been 11 when the Nazis took over Amsterdam. My mom was in a very small town in base Geldermalsen, so she was pretty much well protected from the real brutal parts of the war. And her father was a building contractor, so he had a lot of wood, so he could trade for necessities like food. So my mom had not a terrible war. My dad's war was different. So at the end of the war, we'll go forward to my wedding day. It's my dad told me over a drink or two. He said the happiest day in his life was not the day that he met my mother or married her or had me as his first son, but the happiest day was the day the Canadians kicked the Nazis out of Amsterdam.
Wow.
So, okay. Go forward, 9 years. It's 1956, 1954, I guess. Marshall Plan is working, but there's really not much there in Europe. So he was invited to emigrate. He said, "Look, son, there's nothing for you here." So he and his brothers decide, okay, we're going to go to Canada. They could go to Canada, New Zealand, or Australia. They picked Canada. And so they go over on the Grote Bear. They're in Montreal. They go through to immigration, and they see my brother's last name, Sluyter, which is spelled Sluijter. The Dutch language didn't have a Y at the time. They were playing around with it, and the late 19th century. They were going, yeah, we'll do the Y. So half my family is IJ, half is Y. But my brothers came to Canada. They're IJ, and the customs guy said, "We're changing that to Y, boy." And sure, okay.
Why not?
Absolutely. You kicked the invaders out of my homeland, and now I'm coming to Canada. I'll gladly change my name. So we're born. I'm legally a Y because that's how I was born. And finally, by the time my father passed, they changed it, so they had to change his name back to IJ.
Really?
Yeah. And my mother actually decided, she became so annoyed with the Dutch consulate for messing up her passport that she said, it'll be easier just to become a Canadian citizen. So she became a Canadian citizen, and I was there in 2016 when she became a Canadian citizen.
Wow.
Wow.
Did Dad ever become a...
No, Dad never. He pledged allegiance. Well, he never had to pledge allegiance to the Queen he was born under. He didn't want to pledge allegiance to any Queen.
Okay.
So that's what kept him from becoming a Canadian citizen. Though in his heart he was a landed immigrant and proudly Canadian and.
How did your family end up in Kitimat?
Well, the aluminum smelter.
Okay.
They needed tradesmen, and my dad and his uncle were electricians, and they were accepted to do work at Alcan for that big hydroelectric aluminum plant.
What was it like growing up there?
It was all right. So, yeah. So my dad was changed back to IJ. So and my mother was changed back to IJ. So at the end, I realized, I said to my sister, you know, they left us bastards. And my sister looked at me, yes, by name and nature. So there you go.
Very much. Well, I know that to be true. So tell me about the story. You were going to tell me about the famous...
Brush with fame.
Your brush with fame. I want to hear your brush with fame.
My brush with fame. Edward James Olmros. He was Lieutenant Gat in Blade Runner. It was in 1982. I think I took my first date to see that movie. And he was Commander William Adama in the latest Battlestar Galactica television series. And in 2009, it was just about the end of their principal photography. I hadn't seen the show. I'd seen the signs BSG everywhere. You listen to traffic radio saying, "Oh, there's going to be a Cylon battle in Lynn Valley, so avoid that road." So I thought, okay, great. I remember the show. The earlier show in the 80s, and that was kind of a disco kind of show, but so I didn't realize that this one was going to be quite so gritty. So I was asked by a friend if I would I'd help him play a gig at they were doing some pre-sale of the Olympic Village in 2009.
Okay.
For the Olympic Village, and they had a big open house, and they invited a lot of people. There were a lot of politicians and a lot of important people and wealthy people and people who could at least drop $4,000 to put their name down to pick up a spot in the village because they needed to sell off this housing after the Olympics. So I was asked to play some music with a band that I was in. I wasn't too happy to do this because one, we weren't going to get paid, and two, I'd have to schlep my gear up Grouse Mountain. Of course, there's the gondola, but it's tricky to get to the gondola. There's a lot of security because I think there were some important politicians. I don't remember who, but certainly the mayor and certainly probably a few MPs, that kind of thing, and MLAs, but.
So your friend kind of coerced you into doing it?
Yeah, hey buddy, come on, do this. Okay, you do stuff for your friend. It's I equated this to like helping him move. Going, okay, I got out of helping you move. So we're there set up and getting ready to play, and then I noticed this homeless looking guy with really long hair. Now, I'm used to East End. He didn't stink, so I went, well, this is kind of different, but okay. But he still looked really, really homeless, and he was staring at me, just staring at me. Later on, I'd heard that this actor has a famous stare, that he would stare at somebody. It was quite intimidating, and so I was thinking, okay, he doesn't care about me, but he's probably looking at my gear. I'm going, I don't lose my stuff over a free gig, right? Like that would really suck. Like you do a free gig and you forget a patch cord, you've done the gig for $55. Like no, No. So
That's enough doing it for free, right?
exactly. So I'm going, but I'm gonna need breaks. We're gonna be here for 4 hours. I got to take a leak. I gotta get something to eat. I can't just stay here watching my stuff, making sure this guy doesn't rip me off. So so the first break, I take all my stuff with me, except the stuff that's too heavy to carry. And he's still there. I'm playing the second set. He's still staring at me, just staring at me. I'm going, all right, whatever. I play, So I think nothing of it. In 2010, Anne asked me if I wanted to go to a fiddle camp with her, and she was going to take a fiddle camp. My late wife was a very, very fine musician, and she was not a bad fiddler.
She was an incredible musician.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to go to a music camp. I like kids and I teach kids, but for my fun recreation, no. And not a bluegrass fiddle camp. But I said, where is it? She said, Manhattan. I went, hold on. So we fly to Manhattan. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to have 5 hours, 6 hours on a plane. I had a little portable DVD player, and I bought the Battlestar Galactica miniseries. So I start watching it. It doesn't really twig, and then near the end, I start to go, hold on a second. That really looks like the guy who was staring me down during that gig I had. Oh, no kidding. That's okay. And I had to remember his name. It took me forever to remember his name. Edward James Olmos. But I remember one time I brought this story up, and somebody was his babysitter, and he said, "Yeah, no, he's got this stare. Especially if he thinks you're interesting, he'll just stare at you. It's a weird thing." And later I found out he was also a musician. So he was checking me out as a musician. So okay, that's flattering. But at the time, I thought he was just going to rip off my stuff.
That's a great story. Maybe he's just keeping in character. Thank you very much, Roy.